Mr. Bletcher's been on since lockdown, teaching us things so we don't feel down. Mr. Bletcher and his online homeschool. He's teaching all subjects, so we're up to date. He knows if he does this, then we'll all be great. Mr. Bletcher and his online homeschool. Kids are all watching and eager to learn. We love Mr. Bletcher, he's making it fun. Mr. Bletcher and his online homeschool.
Good morning and welcome to Mr. Bletcher Homeschool. We have another episode. We have plenty of things to get on with today. We have brain teasers. We have our last lesson on different types of angles, which I know you've been absolutely superb with. We've got more spellings for you, and we've got some history about a very special date at the end of this week. So, like we do before, start with those brain teasers. Pause it, have a go, then the solution's up afterwards. On to literacy now, and literacy we're going to have a spelling week. So every day I'm going to give you a list of spellings, and what I need you to do is have a practice of those spellings, and each day I'd like to you to use each spelling correctly in a sentence. So your spellings for today are the following.
Word of the day. Adequate.
What is the definition?
Adequate is an adjective. Adequate means satisfactory or acceptable in quality.
Can you use the word in a sentence?
The playground was perfectly adequate for the children's needs.
So now it's time for your maths today, and a big shout out for the work you did on obtuse angles yesterday. You found some amazing examples, especially Isabel, goodness me. You found some really clever examples, so well done to you. Now we've done acute angles, we've done obtuse angles. It's now time to look at reflex angles. Now, the way to find out if an angle is a reflex angle is the following. The angle needs to be greater than 180 degrees, and we've said that 180 degrees is a straight line, so it's got to go further than a straight line. And it also has to be less than 360 degrees, and we know that 360 degrees is a full turn. So we take a look at this example here. The angle goes all the way round, and this is a 270 degree angle. It does 3 quarter turns, 90, 180, 270. And we have a few more examples here. Now, I don't think, not to have no faith in you, because I've got a lot of faith in you learners, because you're absolutely wonderful, but I don't know if you're going to be able to manage finding reflex angles around the house. I can't find one. I can find a lot of right angles. But that's not what we're after. We're after reflex angles, okay? So, your job, can you take pictures of those reflex angles? Can you find them? They've got to be greater than 180 degrees, less than 360. We've got a few examples of what those reflex angles look like. It may be that you find an obtuse angle, and then you look at the other side of the obtuse angle, and you've got a reflex angle. So, maybe check it out that way. And then your task is just like before, using what you've learned about acute and obtuse angles. Now can you use your knowledge to estimate the degrees of these reflex angles? So, I'm now going to do a little bit of reading with you, but that reading is about the special day that is the end of this week, which is V-Day, the anniversary of V-Day. So, take a look at the images and the text I've read from the Imperial War Museum website. It's an actually fantastic piece of writing that gives us all the information. But as you listen, here's what I need you to do. Can you retrieve 5 facts, 5 really interesting facts about V-Day? So that is your task. So as you're listening, maybe a pen and paper in your hand, can you note down 5 really interesting facts? 8th of May 1945, Victory in Europe Day, was one that remained in the memory of all those who witnessed it. It meant an end to nearly 6 years of a war that had cost the lives of millions, had destroyed homes, families and cities, and had brought huge suffering and privations to the populations of entire countries. Millions of people rejoiced in the news that Germany had surrendered, relieved that the intense strain of total war was finally over. In towns and cities across the world, people marked the victory with street parties, dancing and singing. But it was not the end of the conflict, nor was it an end to the impact the war had on people. The war against Japan did not end until 1945, and the political, social and economic repercussions of the Second World War were felt long after Germany and Japan surrendered. The news of Germany's surrender was not surprising. It had been anticipated for some time, and people across Britain were on standby to start celebrating the end of the war. The announcement that the war had ended in Europe was broadcast to the British people over the radio late in the day on the 7th of May. The BBC interrupted its scheduled programming with a news flash announcing that Victory in Europe Day would be a national holiday to take place the following day. Newspapers ran the headlines as soon as they could, and special editions were printed to carry the long-awaited announcement. The news that the war was over in Europe soon spread like wildfire across the world. Many people in Britain didn't wait for the official day of celebration and began the festivities as soon as they heard the news on the 7th of May. After years of wartime restrictions and dangers, from food and clothes rationing to blackouts and bombing raids, it was understandable how eager they were to finally be able to let loose and enjoy themselves. Colourful bunting and flags soon lined the streets of villages, towns and cities across Britain. On the eve of V-Day, bonfires were lit, people danced, and the pubs were full of revellers. A national holiday was declared in Britain for the 8th of May 1945. In the morning, Churchill had gained assurances from the Ministry of Food that there were enough beer supplies in the capital, and the Board of Trade announced that people could purchase red, white and blue bunting without using ration coupons. There were even commemorative items hastily produced in time for the celebrations, including V-Day mugs. Some restaurants had special victory menus too. Winston Churchill was the man of the hour on V-Day. Britain's Prime Minister had been a major driving force behind the Allies' victory over Nazi Germany, and now that peace had come, the British people were keen to celebrate it with him. At 3 p.m. on V-Day, Churchill made a national radio broadcast. In it, he announced the welcome news that the war had ended in Europe.
Bletcher's homeschool. It's got fun and games like countdown and some arts and crafts, science, nature, and lots of numeracy, maths and art and literacy, cooking, music, geography. Mr. Bletcher's homeschool is full of fun and games.